Welcome to Heavy Realty, where we share tips, stories, and insights on homeownership, investing, and financial literacy for musicians and creatives. Today, we are talking to Greg Styliades. He's the former bassist of Census Fail, a full-time real estate agent in New York, a real estate investor, a father, and a husband. He's managed to purchase multiple properties using $0 of his own, and he's converted some of those into cash-flowing rental properties.
I don't want it to sound like, oh, it's easy to be an agent and you're going to be rich. I mean, I know an agent right now who's been in the business for 2 years and has not done one deal. There's no book of clients. You got to prospect yourself. You got to find it. And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Stay tuned to hear more about how he did it and what his favorite gear is to bring on the road. Hi, Greg. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we get started, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
My name is Greg Styliades. I live in Buffalo, New York. I was a touring musician for many, many years, and now I'm a real estate agent that I've been licensed for since 2018.
Nice. Okay, we've been licensed the same amount of time. That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
How did you get started in music?
Actually, I fell in love with heavier music because of my older cousin, actually. I was just a kid, but I remember going into like third grade and, I'm trying to listen to Marilyn Manson and Korn and he was much older than I was, but that's how I fell into the music world, was because my older cousin.
When did you start playing the bass?
That's actually kind of funny. So I started playing the bass when I joined Census Fail. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a bass player. And then my best friend got a bass. So I said, well, looks like I got to play guitar then. I started playing guitar. And then in all the bands that I was in before Census Fail, I was always just playing guitar. And then we had to swap some positions with Census Fail. And I was like, I'll play bass, I guess. I had no gear, nothing. And I had to start from scratch. And that's when I started playing bass. So what's that? 9 years ago now, I think. 2014, 15. Yeah.
Okay. And that's when you joined Census Fail, was at that time?
Yeah. I met them in 2013. I was on tour with their direct support band, which was For the Fallen Dreams. I met Census Fail, and then their guitar player at the time, Zach Roach, contacted me after the tour and was like, hey, would you guitar tech for us? And I was like, I've never guitar teched in my life. And he was just like, yeah, but you play guitar, so you know how to change strings and stuff. I was like, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, I'll do the tour. I think it was for their 10-year anniversary tour for the Let It Enfold You album. That's when I started touring with them. And then Zach was having a kid on a Bayside tour, so he left. So I came in and I played bass that tour. The bass player went to guitar. And then it went back to normal. And then another tour comes along where the other guitar player was having a kid. So I went and played guitar for a tour. And then I ended up back on bass a few tours later. So I guess I was in the band when they did, I don't know what year it was actually. It was whenever they did the Sum 41 tour. That was when I got flown out to be like, okay, hey, you're going to play bass.
Overall, how long have you been touring for?
The first tour I ever did was in 2006.
Nice. Okay. So long time. What is your favorite tour that you've ever been on?
My favorite tour? I don't know. They all have their own thing, I really couldn't answer that question. I mean, even when I was younger, there was some tours that I hated. I know that because I was touring with my best friends when I was young, with my best friends, we're playing hardcore music. It's a first experience for everybody. That was a lot of fun. Some of the shows weren't as cool, but some of the shows with only 10 people were some of the best shows I've ever played. So it's, I don't know. I don't know what my favorite tour was. There's definitely been some experiences like when we were doing with Sum 41. Those were some really big shows and playing certain fests on certain tours. But there's no specific tour that sticks out to me that was my favorite, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm sure that would be very difficult. I love Sum 41. So that's so awesome that you've toured with them. Do you have any other favorite bands that you've toured with?
We toured with Bayside a lot. Bayside was a lot of fun to tour with. Just as people, I really like the guys in Bayside. Well, it's kind of weird. So I didn't come from that world, right? I never even heard Census Fail until I actually did that 2013 tour, and I was on the tour, and now I hear them. I I knew about the band, but I never heard them before. So the bands that we toured with, I mean, we would always bring out like, there was always like a hardcore band sometimes if it was like one of our headliners. It was a lot of bands that like I didn't pay much attention to, I guess, just because it wasn't like what I listened to. All the bands that we toured with were always great. I mean,
There's likely a lot of music nerds that are listening to this. Do you have like a favorite piece of gear that you used to bring on the road with you? Is there something that just like stands out that had to come with you every time?
I had this Galen Kruger RB800 bass amp that like you used to pick it. You used to be able to go buy it for like $200. I think it was, I don't know when this was made. Maybe it was 80s or 90s model. I don't know. But I got it off my old bass player from my old hardcore band when I had to go play bass. This amp, it's just like this little piece of metal box that doesn't look like anything that I loved. I loved that. And I used this dark glass preamp pedal. That thing changed the game for me, the dark glass preamp. I love that thing. And when I was playing guitar, I was married to my JCM 800. That was the 100 watt. That was the baby.
When was it that, like, when did you realize you needed a side hustle or like a full hustle in addition to music? You know, you got started in 2018. What was that something you just wanted to get into on your own?
I purchased my first house in 2017. I guess that's where like real estate came into mind because I was looking for houses and stuff like that. But I used to come home from tour and I worked at a collection agency. So I would just be on the phones all day long. I'd come home. I wouldn't take a break. I'd like literally come home from a, month-long tour, 2-month tour, and I'd be going right to a phone center or whatever. And I was just sick of it. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's terrible. So I decided, let me try real estate, because you can kind of make up your own schedule in a way, right? Like you still have your appointments, but I was like, maybe I could even do this from the road. So that's how I ended up getting into real estate in 2018.
Were you able to kind of develop your business where you were able to do it a lot on the road in the early years?
I always focused heavy on listings. I mean, I always heard that that's like where you're going to make it. I mean, with buyers, I have plenty of buyers and there's nothing wrong with having buyers, but listings, especially when you're on tour, is a little bit easier because I don't have to go house to house and let people in. But I was having other agents take some of my clients through houses for me sometimes, and I'd throw them $50 here or there. Would just do it for free just to help out. But with the listing aspect, I remember I was on tour. We were on tour in Australia, and I was taking offers on a house while I was gone. And I had to set my alarm for like 3:30 in the morning to wake up to take offers here. And everything worked out. I mean, we all got internet now. So it's just like, hey, I need an hour to go over here and take these offers, and we'd get everything done. But it wasn't too bad. It was pretty easy.
I think what I'm really loving about this work is that you can, in a sense, yes, build your own schedule. I do find that, and I'm sure you can agree with me that being a real estate agent, tends to be a full-time job, like at all hours, if you allow it. And then depending on what time zone you're in, I work in Colorado and Hawaii, but if I'm working my Hawaii hours and I'm on the East Coast, I'm up until 3 a.m. myself, like submitting an offer or talking to a client, but it's kind of nice, even though it's an all the time job, it can be, it's still like you can travel, you can go do things, you can have, a team boots on ground to kind of help make it work in the way that you need for your lifestyle. And I think that that's something that's been really helpful for people like yourselves, musicians, when you're on the road, tour managers, whatever it is, people like myself that travel a lot. That's something that I've really come to find that I love about the work.
I mean, you do have some of those clients that may not totally, they're like, they think they're the only client, which is okay. Like, it's good to make them feel that way. But, sometimes I was a little hesitant to tell people, hey, I'm taking off. But people kind of always knew my background, so they understood.
Yeah.
They noticed that even when I was gone, nothing skipped the beat. So.
Right, exactly. If you have all the right things in place and you manage expectations up front, you can usually make it work. There are people that want you there all the time and you might not be able to be there for them, and you might need to refer them out. But yeah, otherwise it typically is pretty streamlined. So you're a full-time realtor now, and you're also an investor. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I purchased my first investment property a little over a year ago. Me and a couple of friends, we partnered up and bought this double multi-unit that's downtown in Buffalo. and we were like, let's try the Airbnb game. So we fully renovated the house, got it up on Airbnb. It took us a few months, but it's been doing real well. And then we picked up another double. I think we closed on that in November or December, and that's getting, we fully gutted that, and that's getting renovated as well. That one was actually, I never wanted to buy a property that was in a fire, but our one partner doesn't care. And I was just like, okay. And this one, the whole second floor was up in flames, and here we are redoing the whole thing. So it's going good, but I was always just like, I don't want to take that on, but hey, if you're willing to do it, I don't really do the handiwork. I'm not that guy. So if the guy who does that says, yeah, let's do it, I'm all for it. If the numbers make sense, okay, let's go.
That's really, really cool that you've been able to get into that. I'm so excited for you, just because I really think that investing is really the long-term game. Real estate is wonderful and everything, but to me, maybe you think the same. It's kind of a job, and investing is really opening so many more doors for the long term for you. So that's great that you've gotten into it. Is your investing right now all just within New York? Are you open to doing long distance investing?
Right now, it's just in New York. I would be open to doing it elsewhere. My problem is I'm a bit of a micromanager, and if something's not there, I think I'd be like kind of losing my mind at the time. But I think as the portfolio grows, it would be smart to branch out, because I also don't want to oversaturate a certain area too with what we're doing, at least.
I know that when you got your real estate license, you were still touring. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you just decided to transition into full-time real estate and everything, maybe to stay at home more or focus on investing and maybe new chapter. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, I got licensed in 2018. I remember we played Warped Tour, and right after Warped Tour, I had it scheduled so that I could do the New York State schooling to get my license. And then I knew that we were leaving again in like November. So I got home in August. I got married that September, did the honeymoon, and then went back out on tour. So all in that time period, I just was like, you know what, instead of going back to the collection agency, I'm going to just do school full time. And I got it done in like 2 weeks, got my license. And I knew that, like, especially in New York State. So New York State, even a cash deal can take 60 days to close. So we're an attorney state. Me as an agent, I don't handle title. The attorneys handle title. You're looking at 60 days. So if I find a client day one, get them under contract, I'm still not getting paid for at least 2 to 3 months, depending on if it's with another brokerage. I might not get my paycheck till 3 weeks after it closes. So I was like happy that I knew that I had tours lined up. So it was like, okay, at least I'm going to be making some money. In the beginning, I was touring a lot, and then COVID happened, obviously. After COVID, I did another tour, and then that was when I kind of peeled back. I have a 3-year-old, and I remember, geez, I go to work now. I'm gone for 8 hours, and I come home, and she's a little bit taller. So it was a little bit of like a personal decision, and I kind of like let the guys know, like, hey man, if you need someone, I'm here. But I love playing music, obviously, and I love touring. And there was a time where that was generating more money. So it was taking care of the family too. And then it like kind of swapped, where now it was like, almost, I felt like a little selfish, because it was like, because my wife doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom, which I want it that way. And it was just like, if I leave, I'm not bringing as much. And yeah, I'm having the time of my life, but it was a hard decision. I'm missing it more than hell right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
It's there for you. It's there. You've got the talent and the connections. So how has real estate in general, investing and being a realtor, becoming a realtor, really seeing and helping a lot of people, how has this changed your financial outlook?
I mean, it was life-changing, to be honest with you. I don't want it to sound like, oh, it's easy to be an agent and you're going to be rich. I mean, I literally, I know an agent right now who's been in the business for 2 years and has not done one deal. I mean, it's just not that easy. They've had multiple deals, but they've all fallen through. Something's happened. The buyer decided to buy 2 cars right before closing. And, it's like stuff that's just out of your control, no matter how much you educate people. I was comfortable on the phones because of the collection agency. So when I started, I just started blasting expireds. And it was a lot of work. I mean, I was gone all day. I'd go into the office so that I could focus more, even though you don't have to be in the office, but I'd go there. Like right now I'm in the office just to do this. I just knew that if I wanted to make a change, I had to put the effort in, and luckily it's paid off. But it's also very stressful at the same time because, yeah, you just got a sweet deal. You got someone under contract, but now you're unemployed again. So it's like, you got to just keep rolling with it to keep bringing money because there's no book of clients. You got to prospect yourself. You got to find it. And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Totally. Yeah. I can't agree with you more that a lot of people don't understand the amount of work and effort that it takes to be a successful realtor or just have some form of steady income, because this job is never steady with commissions, really. It takes you going into the office. It takes you getting onto the phones and really putting in the work to see the results. It's kind of all on you and dependent upon your output. There's obviously people that have the ability to have just connections and their sphere of influence, their friends who want to work with them. I've never been one of those people. I tend to move to a marketplace where I know no one. And so I have to do, like you, I kind of do all the cold calling, the hard grunt work in order to really see the result. For me, I know that, getting into real estate has certainly opened my eyes with what's possible and what's possible for me financially if I apply myself. If I just apply myself to one thing, I can see the result, and real estate is really good at showing you the results for the effort you put in, is what I found over time.
Sometimes we make it look easy, but it's not. I mean, I'm already going gray. I got gray hairs. I'm 35. It gets stressful. I take certain things to heart here, like with listings. If someone leaves like negative feedback, I take it to heart. Like almost it's my house, but I think that's just because I care, I just care.
Which is great and makes you a great agent, because there's a lot that don't,
Yeah, there's just some that just don't care. Just, turn in an offer if you want to, whatever.
Right. In real estate, if you are successful, you can make good money in many different ways. And then, of course, being an investor, even though that is stressful, there's not always a guarantee, but you can also make good money doing that. Has having more income given you the ability to have maybe more time with your family and more time to be creative, kind of freed up a little bit of that?
No. I'm saying no because it's like that same mindset for me, right? Like, yeah, you just got a deal, but now you're unemployed again, and because I'm the only income in the house, I want to keep it going. And I mean, yeah, of course, there's some days where it's just like, okay, I'm going to just relax, and spend more time with the family. It's in my personality, unfortunately, like where like I'm trying to help other people all the time. So I make myself very available for my clients. If my wife wasn't my wife and someone else, probably I could see it affecting that, like my wife is very strong. So she like doesn't care. She's just like, yeah, do your thing. Instead of making plans for the weekend, I say, well, let's see what happens with work. When in reality, I probably should just make the plan. That's something that I'm trying to work on. That's just time management. But again, like you just never know what call is going to come in.
As I even asked you that question, I will admit that I'm very much like you. I'm absolutely on the same boat where, I could make more time to enjoy things. And, and if my boyfriend wasn't who he was, it might be a whole different situation. But I'm the same. I make myself available for clients. I'm always trying to make sure I have the next deal. What's my pipeline look like? How can I calculate what my income is going to be? Because that is important. And, maybe it's because you're in a season of grinding, right? To try to make all of this, kind of build it up, because that's how you have to do it with this type of work. Otherwise, if you are a realtor that has just a couple of transactions a year, you're never really going to like build it to where it needs to be, to where it does get easier with either past clients, your reviews, you're more known. It should get easier by putting in that effort. So I think that you're just in a season of grinding, which there's nothing wrong with. You have some certain priorities in that, and possibly over time you will have more time to work on these other things, have more time for your life, for plans, or whatever, fucking around. Like, I don't really have time for fucking around. I don't make time for that, but I intend to have it. That's the whole goal, is I'm pushing really hard to have that, because I want that stability. I want some more of that. So that's, it's, I think, totally normal where you're at.
I agree. It's one of those things too, where like, so I'm on a team. I was not on a team for the first few years, but this team isn't like any other teams. It's me and one other guy. His name's Tim LaDuca, and he kind of showed me how, he noticed that I was coming in the office every day. He noticed I'm making calls, and he's been around for 35 years. So he's seen so many new agents come and go. And he was the one who kind of reached out to me and was like, hey, if you ever want to go on a listing appointment, you can come with me whenever. If you want to go on a showing, you can come with me whenever. So I was like, okay. One day I walked in his office, like, take me on a listing appointment. And I saw him and how he talked to people, and I learned kind of like through him. But he's still in this. I mean, he's been doing this for, like I said, 35 years. He's in the office every day. every day, Saturday, Sunday. He just loves it. The way that our team works is that we're still our separate identity, but because we worked so well together, because I started doing photography for listings. That was like a little side hustle I had in real estate. So people would hire me to do listing photos for them. I was doing them for him all the time. And then we're like, dude, we're literally next door to each other, like office wise. Let's just become one thing because we're always working with each other, but we still kept our individuality. Like, nothing's under just his name. Nothing's under my name. We all have our deals are our deals, but we're friends. So it's just like, I just see how he works. It's like, he'll never retire. Like, how do you retire in this business if you're successful, right? It's just like, are you going to just turn away like, hey, list my house? No. Like, of course you're going to go do it. If you're successful in this world, I think you're going to be in here for a long time, because you also like helping people. That, if you're here chasing the paycheck, that's different. But if you actually enjoy helping people, then like this isn't work.
And I think some of those people, you can really see that they love what they do, and they've found kind of their calling in a way, and is really helping people. And I mean, and if the money is good, the business is good, why would you leave it? Maybe you can form a team, an extension of yourself, but it's never going to be the same for other clients, so I get that. I also think it's really great that you basically were able to, or have been able to, have a form of a mentor. I think that that's super crucial for anybody really doing anything new, really of any kind, is surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to influence you. And they don't necessarily always need to be so much more experienced than you, but just like even having the same goals and wanting the same things, putting yourself around the right people. But of course, when you find a mentor who's been there, has been doing it for a really long time and can show you the way, I know that that's so helpful. That personally is what I had for my first 6 months when I was in real estate. I had a mentor and it was fantastic. I was just basically able to learn from someone that was incredibly successful. And then I joined a team and I learned the same thing from my team lead. And I was just like doing whatever he did because he was very successful, and it helped me with my business and got me to where I am today. So I'm glad that you have someone like that, and anybody that's thinking about starting in real estate, if that's the goal, like I recommend getting a mentor, or really just any business you're trying to do, or being an entrepreneur, surround yourself with people that are doing something bigger. I think that's very, very smart.
I mean, that's where I learned a lot of this stuff for investing too, because Tim, he doesn't do rentals, but he's been flipping houses for 12 years now, 13 years. So I learned all about that. I used those methods with my own personal house. I own my own property. This is actually my second house. None of the houses that I've bought, I've never put any of my own money in to buy it. The first house I ever bought, I went through this program that we have. Actually, I think it's countrywide. It's called the NACA program. Have you heard of the NACA program? The NACA program was it basically formed when the market crashed in 2008. Everyone hated Bank of America or something like that. I don't know the full story, but the guys who started this NACA program were protesting, right? And they kept they would take people's belongings that got foreclosed on, and they were dumping it on at the Bank of America headquarters or something like that. They kept doing all this stuff. Eventually they found out where the president's kids went to school, and they started dumping stuff on the school property to the point where the wife basically was like, you need to talk to these people. This is crazy. And the guy basically said, hey, if you think you can do mortgages better, here's a bunch of money, go do mortgages better. So this NACA program formed, and what they do is it's very strict. It's a pain in the ass program. They cross every T, dot every I. They want to follow your finances like crazy. Because I never rented anywhere before, they wanted to make sure that me and my wife could pay all of our bills, and then how much can you save every single month to be a mortgage for 6 months. And I couldn't spend that money. I had to keep just saving it up, because the more you saved, your average would go higher. And then they base you off of, okay, you're qualified for $1,000 a month. And they don't qualify you off a purchase price. They qualify you off a monthly mortgage. We did this program, and what was cool about it was they were always at least 2 points lower in interest rate than any bank. So whenever it was 2017, I had a 3% mortgage. There's no down payment. You do no down payment. It's still a conventional loan, but you just have to pass their underwriting, and you have to have a home inspection and stuff like that. And there's no income limit. So it wasn't for low income people. you could be making $1 million a year, but they maxed out on the purchase price. The purchase price, I think you couldn't buy anything over 600,000, but still, like in Buffalo, New York, at that time, it's a mansion, you know? So they basically base you off this monthly mortgage, which we had to do a lot of work to find the house because depending on the taxes, your taxes are included in that monthly mortgage. So, you know, in one part of the Western New York, taxes were super high, and it's like, okay, you're only qualified for $100,000. And then if I went to the city of Buffalo, I qualify for $250,000 purchase price because the taxes and the monthly payment. But we did that for our very first house. We didn't have to pay for the attorney. This was all covered. The only rule was you can't rent the house out. That was it. If you move, you got to sell the house. Okay. So we bought our first house, no money down. The second house, this was where I learned, everyone talks about use hard money, buy a house, fix it up, get it reappraised, pull the money out. And like, I'm like, okay, I'm watching all these internet gurus talk about this. I'm like, but they make it sound so easy, but like, how do I actually do it? Like, I'm the type of person that needs to do something to actually learn it. Like I could read it all day long. I could watch it all day long. I got to do it. We ended up using a hard money lender to purchase the property because it was very outdated. But I just fell in love with this house. We used that, and I was lucky enough where my dad gave me like 60 grand to do this. But the goal was like, it was like, hey, I got to pay you back in 6 months. I split it between this hard money lender and my father. We purchased the house. I used the money that I sold my house with. I moved in with my mother-in-law. We used the money that when we sold our house, we used that, renovated the whole thing. And then I found out that, okay, you have to own the property for 6 months for a bank to do a cash out refi at a brand new appraisal. If it's before the 6 months, then I would have to show receipts or they would have just appraised me at the purchase price. And I was like, well, I don't want that. We waited the 6 months. I went for a mortgage. I bought the house for $120,000. After the 6 months, it appraised for $230,000. I took the money out. I pulled a mortgage out for $130,000. So I paid everybody back. I put 10 grand in my pocket, and the total mortgage was actually $136,000 because I put my closing costs in there too. There we go. I had this basically fully updated house at a purchase price of $136,000, and I had no money to deal with that. So I was like, so this is how they do it. This is what they're talking about. So we just did that for our very first Airbnb. We found a guy, hey man, give us this. We did a total of, this is purchase price and renovations. We were all in at $165,000 for the house, and it appraised at $340,000. This is for the investment property now, for the Airbnb. It's a double, and our garage is big enough to do a studio apartment. So we went through the city to get approved to turn that into a studio apartment so we could have 3 incomes coming off this one property. When it appraised for $340,000, we pulled out $255,000. We were able to pay back the $165,000. We took $75,000, and that's turning the garage into a studio apartment. So now we have a mortgage. It's like $2,200 a month, but our one unit generates more than that. So we're going to have 2 units there. That's just pure profit, which is awesome. But that's how I learned that whole thing. I literally did this investment way, this method on my own personal house.
Wow.
I've never had to put any money in for a house, like a down payment.
That is incredible. And that is such a great thing that, more people need to know about and understand. Because that's like the Burr method, right? Buy, rehab, renovate, refinance, and then repeat.
Yep.
So you've done the Burr method twice, it sounds, which is awesome. I mean, that is such a great way for a lot of people to get into housing. Maybe they have a different background and they might not be able to get in a traditional way. The Burr method is a great option for people. Some people say that with rates, they're not doing it as much, most investors, but I think for homeowners, and obviously it's working for you in the right marketplace and for the right property, it's certainly going to work and be a great option. So that is so cool that you've done that. I'm nerd out on creative financing all the time. So it's really great to hear that you're doing those things, because I think it's so important for more people to know about different options when it comes to financing. There's not just your conventional loan, the little package. There's not just a VA. There's so much more than that. And you've done it. And I'm the same as you. I have to do it in order to understand it, and no matter how many YouTube videos, doesn't matter how many things I watch, I have to go through the process to really get it. So that's great that you've done that. And, I'm absolutely going to bug you in the future for us to do just like another conversation just on that type of thing, because I think it's so important for more people to really understand and wrap their heads. Another video that they can watch and not learn from until they do, but we'll still make it and put the information out there, So that's really great. I love that. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to talk to you more about that. Has your real estate journey inspired other musicians in any way? Have you been able to kind of tell people what you're doing, or, has it not been so much that?
I don't think I've got anybody who's in like anyone that was doing music with me into the real estate world. But what's cool, I mean, just like your brokerage too, you guys have like a referral system nationwide, probably worldwide. Same with our brokerage. And like, when Buddy, the singer of Senses Fail, purchased a home in Las Vegas, I was able to be somewhat part of the transaction by getting him an agent, staying on top of things with them. And same thing, actually, our old driver and stage guy, he just purchased a property in Georgia with his wife, and they just closed actually 2 days ago. And I was able to help them along the way with that too, just following up with them. I mean, obviously I'm not the licensed agent, so I'm not showing them the house. I don't know every detail about the deal, but, when it goes through those referral programs, I at least try to stay as involved as I can. So it's not just like, hey man, I'm just here to take money from your agent. Like that's not the case,
Totally. And I think that's something that, a lot of people don't realize or understand. Just because we're licensed, we can help you in really like 50 states or really globally, depending on the brokerage that you're with or the referral situation. I mean, so, people in your network should always know that you're a realtor and can help them in any state. And I'm always trying to say the same. And that's why with Heavy Realty, we are a nationwide network of people that can help people in any state that they're looking to buy. And I'm like you, where I do really like to handhold and make sure that they're taken care of by the other agent that I'm connecting them with, because I feel like it's so important. And, they're either a friend of mine or somebody I know, and I want to make sure they're in good hands, even if they're in another state. So that's really great that you are able to do the same thing. I mean, it's a nice way to continue to do business outside of just where you live. I have a last question for you. It's more of a fun question. If you could have a dream house filled with your favorite musicians, alive or dead, for a party, what style of house would this be, and who would be there?
This is tough. You shouldn't really meet what do they say? Don't meet your idols or something like that, because I might get bummed out, truthfully. I've met a few people that I've always been like, oh, cool. And then I'm like, dang it, I wish I never met that person. I'm just going to go with my favorite house. At least it would have to be an old Victorian. I love old houses. My house was built in 1910. Those are real houses, I mean, these new builds these days, it is what it is. But I love old houses. So if I could have an old Victorian, Italianate style house, oh my God, that would be awesome. As far as the musicians that could be in there, I don't know.
This is an imagination situation. Pretend that they're all going to be cool.
I would have to put Gavin Rosdale in there. Don't send that to them, because I don't want them thinking it's weird. Because I just went and saw them, so that's weird. But it would be Gavin Rosdale. I'd say I'd probably throw Kurt Cobain in there, just because, like, why not? Like, the dude's dead. Put him back in there somewhere. I don't know. It's such a funny question, but let's just do those two, and then it's going to be a big Victorian, so like we don't even have to see each other, but they could be in the house.
Perfect. Yep, that's it. Great answer. I love it. Love those houses, though.
People be like, "Oh, you got Kurt and Gavin over?" Yeah, they're over, but they're somewhere. They're just in the rooms. You can find them if you want to.
Thank you, Greg, so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your time. And just for the audience, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, all under my name is Greg Styliades. So we keep it simple.
You got it. And I will put those in the comments below, but thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.